Shadow Chancellor, first up, should we just get past the issues that's starting to cause you a real headache? Can you be straight with voters and tell them that you have decided not to pledge up to 28 billion a year, whether immediately or by the end of the next Parliament, into your green investment plan? You can't make that commitment anymore, can you?
Well, the Conservatives crashed the economy and sent mortgage rates and the cost of government borrowing soaring, and that does change what will be possible for an incoming Labour government. But there's going to be at least one more budget on March the 6th, possibly another one later in the year before we get those final numbers of what I hope an incoming Labour government, if we win the election, would inherit. And I've been really clear that all of our policies will be subject to the fiscal rules to get debt falling as a share of GDP.
OK, you said in June 2023 we will ramp up to 28 billion of investment by the end of the next Parliament. You obviously now cannot stand by that statement, can you?
Well, even since then, the costs of government borrowing, the cost of government debt have increased. And look, if there's one thing that I hope voters know about me is that I will never play fast and loose with the public finances, because when you do, you play fast and loose with family finances and you affect businesses as well. I will never do that. The fiscal rules will come first, and all of our policies will be subject to that iron discipline.
You've talked a lot to business about stability and certainty. You also have this policy currently as it stands to invest up to 28 billion by the end of the next Parliament. I understand that you want to wait for the next fiscal event or events, but it's pretty clear to me that up to 28 billion a year into green investment will not be Labour policy in its current form at the next general election. That's fair, isn't it? That's where you're at.
What people need to know is that the fiscal rules are the most important thing for me. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before I became a politician. I know the importance of economic and fiscal stability, and that will always come first with me, and all of our policies will be subject to it, including investment in some really important things to help us grow our economy, like green hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, floating offshore wind. We want to make those investments alongside business in the opportunities of the future, but everything has to be affordable.
But my question was, I'm not asking you to give me a figure. My question is, given what's happened to public finances, you're saying now that you are backing off from that commitment of up to 28 billion by the end of the next Parliament. That's pretty clear, isn't it?
What people can hear loud and clear is that all of our policies will be fully costed, fully funded and subject to the fiscal rules.
I think what people can hear is you're not answering the question.
Well, all of our policies have got to ensure that debt is falling as a share of GDP and that we're not borrowing for day-to-day spending. But there will be at least one more fiscal event, possibly two, before the next general election. And we need to know what that fiscal inheritance is going to be.
Torsten Bell, former Labour advisor, economic advisor now at the Resolution Foundation, told me the fiscal rules don't prevent borrowing, but the debt falling rule does mean that in the final year of the forecast you won't be able to borrow 28 billion or even 20 billion in the final year. So is that what's happening, that you'll still invest in it but you acknowledge that you won't be able to hit that figure?
Well, what I absolutely acknowledge is the state of the public finances caused by the Tory damage to our economy is very different from when we first set out our ambitions, and the government have sent interest rates soaring because of their recklessness and irresponsibility with the economy, and that does affect what an incoming Labour government would do.
Will you give an update on this after the budget?
Well, of course we will update people on our thinking of this, but as I say,
after the budget.
Well, we will in our own time.
You're being smashed up about this.
Well,
you are being smashed up by the Conservatives. They're undoing all your good work of rebuilding trust by hitting you around the head with this number. You must wince at Prime Minister's questions.
We're at our business conference today, where there are 400 businesses here, another 200 joining us this evening. The people in the room today can see that the Labour Party has changed, that it is now only Labour that is a pro-business party in Britain today, and we're increasingly getting backing from business because they can see that our sums add up, and we've got policies and plans to grow our economy, whether that's reforming pensions, reforming planning, or ensuring that young people have got the skills they need to do the jobs of the future.
Rachel Reeves, will you invest as much as you can, or is the investment plan around green energy dead?
Well, I think there's huge opportunities to lower bills, to boost our energy and our economic security, and attract jobs to Britain in a very competitive global environment. It's why we've said that we would create a national wealth fund to invest alongside business in some of the opportunities for low carbon energy. And for every £1 that government puts in, we would expect to leverage in £3 of private sector investment. So I think these are exciting opportunities. Other countries are seizing them. I want Britain to as well, and we would work with business to do that.
The Conservatives keep saying time and again that the 28 billion figure means that you're going to end up taxing Britons more. It proves Labour cannot be trusted on the economy. It's a problem for you, isn't it?
Well, at the conference today, I've set out a cap on corporation tax, that it won't rise above the current level of 25%, and we would keep it under review to make sure that we are competitive internationally. Taxes under the Conservatives are now at a 70-year high, and under their plans are due to go up for each of the next 5 years. The Conservatives have become a high tax party because they've failed to grow the economy. Labour has a plan backed by business to grow our economy, and that's what will be needed to ensure that we can keep taxes low and have the money to invest in public services.
How much does it make you wince every time you hear these Tory attack lines on the 28 billion?
Well, look, I see Rishi Sunak at Prime Minister's Questions yesterday claiming that if you're coming off a fixed rate mortgage deal, you'll be paying less, when the reality
you acknowledge
is
it's a
people...
problem for you. It's clouding the message. That's all we're talking about. When are you going to back down on this policy? It's all anyone talks about.
Well, you know, Beth, I go out campaigning week in, week out. I was in Peterborough last weekend, Leeds, out campaigning in my own constituency. It's not the main issue people are talking about. People are talking about what's happening to their mortgages, what's happening to their energy bills and the price of the weekly shop. And they want to know that Labour can be trusted with the public finances. And because of our fiscal rules, because of the fiscal lock and the additional powers for the Office for Budget Responsibility, it is clear now that it is Labour the party of economic and fiscal responsibility.
OK, I hope that in this interview you might be straight with me on this and just say, look, the funding commitment at that level is on the way out. Can you just make it clear that it's on the way out? I'm not asking you for an update on what the figure might be, but that you're going to have to row back from what you said in June 2023.
Well, all of our policies have to be subject to the very tough fiscal rules that I've set out. I think people can see that the economic environment, the fiscal environment has changed hugely, even just in the last few months, and we'll have to cut our cloth accordingly. But we'll set that out when we've got a clearer idea of the economic and fiscal inheritance that an outgoing Conservative government, if we have the opportunity to form the next government, will inherit.
So that was a yes?
All of our policies, and I know I will just repeat it one more time, have to be subject to the fiscal rules, and the Green Prosperity Plan is no exception.
OK, Rachel Reeves, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.